Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start judging for the nature category in room A, if you come through. And welcome to those who have already joined us and to the judges. Okay, so welcome to the nature category, sponsored by Epson. We're about to start the run through. Okay. First up for judges, we have Melissa Anderson, Mike Langford, Jackie Rankin, Ollie Dale, and Bill Backman. This is the nature category sponsored by Epson. Single frame photographs that celebrate the beauty, wonder, and diversity of the natural world. A way of encouraging interest in outdoors through bringing greater awareness of the natural world and the need to protect what nature has to offer. Entries into this category may be commissioned or self-commissioned. Entries must be of nature or wildlife, images from land, water, air that represent wildlife and or plant life. It is natural in its natural habitat and or aspects of the natural world. Includes the natural landscape, environment, land animals, mammals, aquatic life, marine and freshwater, birds, insects, and bugs, reptiles, and flora. Entrants are expected to represent the natural world in a way that is both creative and honest. An image may include an indication of human existence, e.g. fence line, shipwreck, etc., however must not include the human figure itself. Entries must be of a single frame capture with no retouching that materially affects the authenticity of the original scene. The work presented must be a true representation of the original scene. An entry may be presented as a series, diptych or triptych, HRDs, panoramas, focus, stacking, stitching using multiple exposures taken at the same location at the same time are permitted, provided they are fully disclosed within the description caption. Description caption information and comply with the category principles and of authenticity. Okay. Judges, are we ready? Fantastic. Next print, please. Okay, we have an average of 69 and we will accept that. Thank you. Can I please have a comment from Jackie?
To get this into the next level, might consider a bit more of an action, a gesture, show me a bit of emotion from this bird.
Thank you, Jackie. Next print, please. Caption, native kuru unfurls with matua parent ponga. Okay, we have an average of 69 with an elective challenge from, no, okay, we're accepting that, 69. Thank you. Can we please have a comment from Ollie?
Sure. The koru is a symbol of new life, and so the correlation between the new life, the life in the background, and then that sort of oval-shaped planet almost, or egg, was quite dramatic. And I did enjoy that. I felt the chopping off, the truncation of the shape in the background probably more suited a circle to really talk to me.
Thank you, Ollie. Next print, please. How are we all going out there in the audience? Fantastic. Okay, we have an average of 71, and I'm going to accept that. Thank you, please. Melissa, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I think this is a nicely captured image. I would love to see the printing. I'd like to see a little bit more range through it, a little bit more contrast through some of those areas of the background, and possibly moving in so that the emperors fill a little bit more of the frame.
Fantastic, thank you. That was a 71 bronze. Next print, please. Okay, the caption is Sacred Kingfish with Crab. Okay, we have an initial score of 78 with an elective challenge from Mr. Langford.
I find this an incredibly successful image in terms of the sharpness recorded on the bird, but the very softness in the background that's allowing a real three-dimensional separation. This is high quality skill of the operator to actually capture this very fast-moving bird in a situation, but also putting it against a very sympathetic background. The tonality on the background supports the colours of the bird at the same time without actually interfering with it. So I find it a really good, successful blend of elements that, for me, have made a silver award.
Thank you, Mike. Ollie, I'd like to hear from you, please.
Sure, I scored it a 78, sorry. And yeah, I guess I was a little bit chicken. I thought that it was very well captured and much better than a professional standard. I just wondered if they had executed enough for a silver, but that was kind of where I felt, and that's what I gave it. I'm totally listening to reasons why I need to come up into that sort of range of excellent levels.
Okay, I think we're going to go back to Mike for right of reply.
All right, so no real negatives from anyone, which sort of suggests that you support what I'm said. The reflection is the other element, the containment of the reflection within the crop, but also the crop allowing the bird to move into the frame. These are all elements that elevate it above just a low award.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore, and nice succinct discussion there. Appreciated. Okay, well done. We have a final score of 82 silver. Nicely done. And can we please have the next print? Okay, the title of this one is Remarkable. Okay, judges, scores please. Being nice and efficient, keep it going. Okay, so there is a bronze with a majority 3, so 70. Well done, and we'll accept that. Thank you. Next print. Oh, sorry, yes, comment. Oh, wait, blank screen. Oh, well, back. Thank you. Can we please have a comment? Oh, Ollie wants to say something.
Yeah, can we just get the print back for 1 second? I know they're probably just taking it off. My comment was to the left-hand side of the image. The motion that is given to us by the photographer imparts an emotion in myself until I get to the left-hand side of the frame, and then that magic of what is this before us suddenly becomes obvious that it's trees, and I probably enjoy the magic by itself.
Thank you, Ollie. Next print, please. Judges are reminded that to keep their comments nice and succinct and efficient. The title of this one is Warm Undulating Light on Leafless. Thank you, judges. We have an average score of 68. And we'll accept that. Thank you very much. Next print. Oh, yes. Comment from Bill.
I think this is a case of lovely light looking for a strong subject, and maybe even a strong composition. I get the undulations of the trees in the background, but the foreground with its other elements in the shadow is extremely distracting. I think if it had been cropped into a pure abstract, it would have been more successful.
Thank you. Next print, please. Go to a blank screen, please.
Lost the
Okay, just okay. While we're just fixing a small technical problem, we just want everyone to stand up and do a nice little shake. It's been a long day. Everyone's doing really well. Get that blood going. Come on, judges, you guys too. I don't have judge descriptions, I'm sorry. But what I'm going to do, if I'm given... Yeah, I think we would like to start with Bill because, Bill, you're relatively, well, you've been judging for a while, you're relatively new to judging over here.
Indeed, I am.
So it would be great if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and include something that not many people know.
In a former life, I actually specialised in skiing and ski photography and spent a long time in New Zealand, actually. I came over here many times in the 80s and 90s working on stories for ski magazines. That was the more active phase of my life. I'm in the less active phase of my life now. Kind of gave that away. I started shooting pictures for Australian Geographic magazine in the mid-1980s, and around the same time that my friend Mike Langford did. Spent 30 years working on stories for them. Every corner of Australia I got to go to and meet all sorts of interesting people. Spent several years travelling around Australia, living on the road. Moved out of our house in Melbourne and took to the road, which changed my career in many ways. And more lately I've been preoccupied with photographic education. I worked for 6 years at Photography Studies College in Melbourne. And while I was there, I ran their advanced diploma major in photojournalism for 4 years, and the primary reason I'm actually here in New Zealand is to conduct a judge training workshop, which took place yesterday. About 18 months ago, we started to develop a proper formal judges training, development and training program in Australia, and it's matured to the point now where we give about half a dozen workshops a year in Australia, and I came over to give a workshop here yesterday, which was well attended and hopefully enthusiastically received.
Thank you, Bill. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to become a judge, what would it be?
One piece of advice for someone who wants to become a judge is immerse yourself in photographs. Look at photographs all the time and think about what they mean to you and how you would talk about them if you were asked to talk about them. There's no substitute for devouring photography.
Fantastic. Okay, I think we are going to ask El Presidente, Ollie, a little bit about himself. Ollie, how about you start with something that no one knows?
What, even me?
Well,
I had a desire a dozen years ago to start up a restaurant that served solely pineapple. So there you go.
fantastic.
I didn't do it, but I just had a desire to do it.
Did you have a name?
So yeah, I'm the president of NZIPP. It's an honour and a privilege to be in that role. And it's a challenge, and I'm really enjoying the opportunity that it gives.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. It will just be a little bit longer. Thank you for your patience. If we could perhaps hear from Mel, the other Mel.
So what questions am I answering? I've never had a desire to open a pineapple restaurant.
Okay,
ever.
well, that's good to know. Tell us about your favourite movie. Yes. It's like a dating show.
Probably Pulp Fiction.
And
maybe?
why?
Yeah, so, anything, I think as photographers we look at visual imagery and we're just drawn. So anything that is filmed beautifully, I'll find myself just staring at a commercial over and over just because it's got plastic bags floating or just the filming is beautiful. So, so I guess I take my creative inspiration from everything around.
Okay, so Jackie, if you have, tell us about a hobby you have that has nothing to do with photography.
It's called Mike Langford. He's my hobby because we go out and play together. We really do. We go and play golf sometimes. Chase a little white ball around the field. Yes, we have a cat called Boris. Actually, Mike. Boris has a human called Mike. Mike might like to talk about Boris, who's missing him very much.
I think I would like to hear about Boris, as we all know I love cats.
Actually, I have a secret to share with you.
Okay.
But Jackie's sleeping with a pensioner.
Yes, please. Our bench judge. There, Gary, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, Mel. I have been doing nothing over the last 2 days here, as you know, and nothing with the workshop, nothing with the panel chairing. So it's, this is the first time I've spoken all weekend.
Your voice sounds new and exciting to us.
Yeah, look, I'm a photographer from Brisbane. I work for the Queensland Museum in our publishing department, wildlife, landscape, aerials, primarily sort of in that space, in the publishing space, but I also sort of specialise in the underwater world as well, and the Great Barrier Reef is front and centre in that area as well. It's a big passion of mine, and I spend a lot of time on the Barrier Reef and also talking about the Barrier Reef and the challenges ahead of it. So, and lots of new things happening on the horizon for me in the next 2 or 3 years, which is great, and it's my first time in New Zealand. It's been fabulous to be here. I've had a great time, and looking forward to what comes up next print around the corner.
Okay, so everyone is, just a quick little reminder, we have a fantastic new award for judges, the Ian Paul Memorial Award. This is to reward excellence in New Zealand judges, because we all know of our superiority over the Australian judges. This is open for the public to vote on. You're welcome to fill out the form and post it out the front. Panel chairs are also asked for their input, and I score extra high on puns. So if you can slip some puns in, I doubly appreciate that and highly value them. No one wants to know about me. Well, yes. So I can talk about accreditation. One of the things that people may not know, my role when I'm not judging or panel chairing or running my business, I work with the wonderful Sarah and the amazing Shah. Did you see how I slipped those two lovely superlatives in there for you, Bill? We work on the accreditation team for those who want to become accredited members of the NZIPP. We've recently made some changes, and there's further changes coming We will be having a small Q&A session to go over those and to discuss any questions that provisional members have on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. You don't have to be a provisional member to come along. You can be someone who wants to join or someone who is already accredited but has questions about the accreditation process. So yes, accreditation is a fantastic process. It's a learning process. We recently introduced accreditation advisors, where we take highly experienced and knowledgeable current members of the NZIPP and pair them with the provisional members who are wanting to go through accreditation to gain experience and knowledge and share that knowledge and pass it down as a way to grow those provisional members into accredited members. Hang on a minute, please, caller. So just while we're waiting, in case you wanted to know, I have a cat called Monster. He has his own Instagram page. If you feel like you want some furry, fuzzy funniness, you can follow him at Monster's Adventures. Judges, can you please try to log in for me? We are very nearly there. If we're not, I think I might have to revert to singing and dancing. Okay, next print, please. Okay, then judges, please enter your scores. Okay, we have a score of 67. Okay, we'll accept that. Thank you. That's 67. Can we please have a comment from Mel?
I would love to see in this image perhaps coming in a little bit closer or changing an angle to really be able to direct us in. I find I'm a little bit blocked with that rock dead centre, and I'd love things to not be so centred, just to give us a little bit of interest and journey and really lead us in through the foreground.
Thank you, Mel. Can we please have the next print? Okay, the title of this one is sorry, we're just working. I'm not fluent in Icelandic, so please forgive me. But this is Foss, Iceland. Okay, how are we coming with those scores, judges? Okay, so we have an initial score of 76. Yes, with an elective challenge from Bill. Would you please talk to the print?
I haven't gone crazy here. I've given it an 81, but the reason that I've rewarded this photographer is for her interpretation of the subject. We've seen incredible landscapes from Iceland and other parts of the world repeatedly over the last 10 years, so it's not breaking new ground in terms of subject matter, but I think it's been cleverly shot, cleverly composed, and cleverly presented to us. It's a panoramic image with almost entirely verticals in the shot. So it's like we're traveling down the keyboard of a piano or a set of teeth or something like that. You know, it's got this tension built into it through the verticals and through the verticals in the frame, the powerful energy coming out of the middle of the picture, and the extreme horizontal matting. So it's more about the input of the photographer here, the interpretation of the subject for me.
Thank you, Bill. Ollie?
Yeah, I gave this a 72. I felt it was a very high standard that was exceeding normal professional practice. I wanted to go into silver. I kind of got this feeling of the lake at the top emptying into what was below, and I really did feel like it was coming out of the print at me, which I loved. It grabbed me and took me there. I didn't like how the top of the frame cropped off that little rock on the left-hand side in the middle. I felt that it just took it away and then came down into the bottom, and I didn't see quite enough to make it feel where it was going. But I'm listening to taking it to silver. I do enjoy the image for sure.
Okay, before we go back to Bill, I'd actually like to hear from Jackie.
I'm pretty happy on 78, and I do have, because I have problems with it. I think it would have made a great print perhaps if it had gone into landscape and some of those areas were corrected and stamped out, allowed a bit more space. I think there's a great crop also on the left-hand side, but where it is so tight, it's creating problems on the top and the bottom where there is a white blob. Yeah, I'm still on 78.
Thank you. Bill, you have right of reply.
Yes, I think what's working for me is that forced perspective. I completely respect the opposing views here because there's a whole bunch of ways you could have done this, but I think the photographer has taken a chance and gone to an extreme here, forcing a perspective on us, which I think viewed from here makes it quite an interesting abstract. It's a very literal subject given an abstract treatment, and I think it's innovative.
Thank you, Bill.
Look, I'm on 81. Modestly, it could be a silver.
Thank you, Bill. Judges, please rescore. Okay, we have a final score of 80, majority 3, so silver. Thank you. Good talking, Bill. Next print, please. The title is Narahiri, an HDR panoramic stitch. Are those scores coming, judges? Okay, we have an average of 70. The bronze will accept that. Thank you very much. Mike.
I gave it 62, so obviously I didn't feel as it was an award. I actually feel it's very flat, and it's probably because of the treatment of the HDR. It's actually taken out all the tonal differences in there. If it was given more contrast, it would do a lot better.
Thank you, Mike. Next print, please. Here we have an average of 75, nice consistent scoring, and we'll accept that. Thank you, that's a bronze. Mel, can you please?
Yeah, I think a circle mat in this case is quite nice because it enhances the structure of this particular flower and the delicateness. I think it's done well. It's received a bronze award. Perhaps it would be nice to see maybe the background a little bit more delicate to match the foreground of the flowers.
Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this one is Land of the Long White Cloud. Okay, we have an average of 66. And we'll accept that. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. 66 professional standard. And Mike?
I think a slightly darker exposure with more detail into the mist would give it a lot more clarity, a lot more to judge.
Thank you very much. Well said. Next print, please. Title of this one is Rainforest at Dawn, Borneo. Okay, we have an average of 67, and we'll accept that. Thank you very much, judges. It's professional standard. And can I please hear from Bill?
There's a real heaviness about this which kind of gets in the way of fully reading the image. I'm wondering whether the entrant might try printing it in black and white and let silver do the talking instead of colour. Might be a more interesting, accessible print.
Thank you. Very constructive, Bill. Next print, please. Title of this is KP7.33 Aurora Australis G3 Geometric Storm. geomagnetic storm. Okay, we have an average of 80, and we'll accept that silver. Thank you very much. Can we please have a comment from Ollie?
A pretty powerful image with a lot of emotion and the explosion of that light really dragging you through the foreground and really investing you in what's going on. And I love the sort of the clouds slash energy that comes out of that. I felt a little bit like the brights got a bit too bright and took me out of it a bit, where I'm starting to see the paper underneath rather than the image itself.
Thank you, Ollie. Next print, please. Just a little reminder, we're in the nature category, sponsored by Epson, and the title of this print is Autumn in the Upper Nevis. Okay, we have an average of 74, and with an elective challenge from Mr. Mike Langford.
I gave this 83. I really enjoy the colour palette. The soft pastels reiterate that feeling of autumn, and the atmosphere in here is quite saturated. It's almost like there's a mist rolling through, and it's hiding things from us that normally would be quite stark and quite heavy. So I'm seeing this in a different way from what I've ever seen it before. So for me, it's quite refreshing. I'm finding it very interesting. It's an original interpretation for me.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from Bill next, please.
Mike, I'm 23 points away from you. My main problem here is that I'm having extreme problem relating to this as a nature image. The dominant subjects are either a tree that's been sort of damaged and scraggly and a tin hut, and I'm not necessarily getting a sense of its placement in nature, or it's not celebrating its environment in any way. And I feel like I've kind of seen this before. I'm sorry, it's just an image that doesn't speak to me the same way that it does to you.
Oh, I think Mel wants to have something to say, please.
Yeah, I sat on 77, and I sat there from a pictorial perspective. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the colour palette, the tonal range, that light ethereal quality that it brings, and that concept of what is nature, that this may be getting out in nature. To me, this was a painting. I struggled with some of the colours of the leaves that I felt were a little bit oversaturated or too intense. But from a pictorial perspective, I really enjoyed this image, and I'm happy to be talked up if we can address some of those, because for me, the colour palette of the orange and the yellows versus the blues and the mist, it's very idyllic.
Thank you. Back to you, Mike.
I guess the thing I'm struggling with is because of the man-made object, you've basically excluded it. Is that correct? So the criteria for this particular category, does it exclude man-made objects in the... Right. Okay.
I was going to say, would you like me to read it? An image may include an indication of human existence, for example, a fence line, shipwreck, etc., however, must not include the human figure itself.
Okay, all right.
Judges are reminded that the judge images past honours.
Sure, I guess my question was more the exclusion from Bill, was I getting something wrong? So that's I was just really checking myself. Thanks. Given that, I think it's delicate. I think it's been pleasantly handled. I'm not going for a high silver. I think it's better than just a professional standard. And so I've gone out on a limb, as you do with trees, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Judges, please rescore. Okay, it's moved it up 2 points to an average of 76 bronze. Thank you very much. Thank you for the pun. Next prints, please. Sorry, no, correction, blank screen, please. We're going to do a quick judge change. Bill, we're going to swap you out for your friend, Gary. Okay, ready to go. Next print, please. The title of this one is Gum Emperor Caterpillars and Eggs. Eggs. Okay, we have an average of 68. We'll accept that, thank you. Professional standard. Can we please hear from our new judge, Gary?
Yeah, this is quite an interesting picture we have in front of us. I think I would have liked to see a bit more concentration on what we were meant to look at, though. I got a little bit confused as to what I was supposed to look at because, yeah, it was just a bit competing in terms of the elements. That was all. Yeah.
Thank you, nice and constructive. Next print, please. Title of this image is Morning Light. Okay, we have an average of 63 and we'll accept that. Thank you, judges, professional standard, and I believe Gary wants something to say.
Yeah, this just feels like, it feels unfinished. That's all. I think this is the beginnings of an idea. I went looking for something more that wasn't there, so it just kind of felt a little bit like an exercise. And that's about as far as I could kind of go with it. I think there was more in there somewhere, but we didn't see it.
Thank you, Gary. Next print, please. Yep, sorry. Movement in the evening fields. Okay, we have an average of 65, which we're going to accept. Thank you. Professional standard. Can we please hear from Melissa?
I quite enjoy the particular angle in the foreground of having these different elements come in, but I'd like a focal point that I'm led to, a sharp point that directs me. With this particular image as well, I would love to see a little bit more delicateness in the colour palette. If we're sort of having this delicate fronds of grass and things like that, it would be lovely to just have a little bit more of a graduation.
Thank you. Judges, can you please re-enter the same scores for me? Thank you, judges. Next print, please. Title is Buller's Mollyhawks, Breaksea Sound, Fiordland. Scores, please, judges. Thank you. We have an average of 74 bronze. We'll accept that. Thank you. Can I please hear from the very talkative Ollie Dale?
I've been talking all day like Gary. Very strong graphic. Very. The thought that went through my head was wingman. You know, a couple of lads out on the weekend. I did enjoy the moment that it expresses within this part of nature. I would have loved to have seen kind of where they were a bit more. It was just a little bit too contrasted.
Thank you, Ollie. Next print, please. Okay, the title of this one is Aurora over Reykjavik. Reykjavik. Thank you, judges. We have a lovely spread there, an average of 74 bronze, with Ollie putting his hand up like he needs to run to the bathroom.
I scored an 83, silver. When we talk about sort of, not necessarily originality, because these things have been around for aeons, but the particular viewpoint of this photographer. Not often is the aurora shot from directly underneath. And the effect that it gives you is kind of this time travel, out of worldly experience, which just has enough detail in the clouds and the one little, what looks like either a satellite or a shooting star in the bottom right, to tell me exactly where it is, but allow me to enjoy the aesthetic of this abstract part of nature. It hasn't been presented in the bold, beautiful colours that God has let us see them in. It's been presented black and white, and so it becomes much more of a feeling kind of emotive kind of work. And I think in this category it does very well, and I gave it an 83 to celebrate that.
Thank you. Down the other end of the judging panel, Mike.
Yeah, I gave this a 60, mainly because converting it into black and white, you're actually taking the glory of what an aurora is. And tonally, I find it a little bit muddy and a little bit sort of flat. Knowing that the colours are there, I feel as if I've been robbed.
I believe Melissa wants to say something.
Yeah, I put this at 75 as a solid bronze. What I really enjoyed about this is it took on a surreal element. So when it first came up, I actually saw a figure in there. I saw a human form, and I was immediately attracted to the concept of making something so surreal and dreamlike. So I enjoyed in that element, but I did find I had some printing issues. I would have liked to. I found the print a little bit muddy, a little bit heavy, and so that's why I'm sort of sticking in the 75. But I'm still listening.
Okay, Gary, add a few words.
Look, the abstraction, I think, is actually enhanced by being black and white. Had it had been a colour print, I think it would have been extremely obvious what it was. To me, I was starting to read a body underneath a balloon or a stocking or something, you know, those sort of figures trying to push their way out. I probably would have gone a bit higher had the print had a little bit more punch in it and a little bit more in terms of graphic and strength in terms of really punchiness. So, yeah, I was drawn to the weird abstraction, Mike, so I wasn't too concerned about that. I was at 78 and I liked this representation of something we see quite often.
Thank you. Ollie.
Yeah, thank you, judges. I take on board, and I wanted to go even higher and higher and higher and higher. I felt that it scored well with an 83 with me, and for exactly as Gary says, had it been in colour, everyone knows what it is. It allows us to imagine what it could be when it's black and white. It's a tricky subject, and therefore you're going to get things like lots of grain and the mud. But I actually kind of feel like the choice has been made to allow it to be that kind of murky because it's not supposed to be crystal clear. It's a feeling and an emotion and almost like a dream. And to me, that was a high level of imagination, and that's silver.
Thank you, Ollie. Judges, please rescore. Okay, a little bit of movement there. 76, bronze. Thank you. Next print, please. The title of this one is Recently Uplifted Kaikoura Concretions. Recently Uplifted Kaikoura Concretions. Score, please, Ollie. Thank you. Okay, we have an average of 70. We're going to accept that. That's a bronze. Thank you. Can I please have a comment from Jackie?
To bring this into a more solid bronze, I guess, would have been to have found a more interesting foreground. I'm finding it a bit clumpy there in the middle on that third line. About it, a bit more separation there.
Thank you, Jackie. Next print, please. Okay, hang on. Blank screen. Rescan, please. Okay, yep. Okay. Next print, please. No title for this one. Okay, we have an average of 71, bronze, and we will accept that. Thank you very much. Can I please hear from Melissa? You're right on the average.
I think this is a a moment that has been well captured. From my perspective, I don't know whether the other judges agree, but I don't necessarily feel that I needed 3 images. I would have liked to have seen it stronger if it was, perhaps just 1 image. So, but yeah, well caught.
Thank you, Mel. Next print, please. Title of this one is The Philosopher's Stone. Okay, we have an average of 63, professional standard. We'll accept that. Thank you. Can we please hear from Mike?
It would help a lot if your eye actually goes to the brightest part of this picture, and when you get there, there's nothing to see. So when you're printing things for our Iris Awards, do look at them under the lighting source so you can actually get your exposure right.
Thank you. Very good point. Next print, please. Title of this one is Baby Macau, Borneo. Thank you. We have a score of 76. And with a challenge from Mel.
Yeah, so I've scored this at 85. And the reason that I've done that, I'm particularly drawn in to those eyes and the reflections of the jungle in the background. It leads me in and it tells me a story about the world that this occupies. The dirt under the fingernail and the covering of the face, the human qualities that it's brought to it. I find it very engaging, humanising, and giving us that emotion and the context to the environment and the subject. And for that reason, I felt it sat in a silver range.
Ollie.
Yeah, for all those reasons, I gave it a professional standard. And I get that nice crop has given us that story that is, it's all about the face and it's all about the emotion. But I kind of just felt that was what I would expect from a professional photographer, and I didn't feel like I'd been taken to a place of a high level of imagination or craft. So, tell me why I missed it.
Gary?
Look, I was on 74. I just think in terms of our tonal values here, there's some competing tones that actually don't draw you to the eyes enough. And I'm talking about the crossover of the fingers. They're out of focus, but they're actually the brightest part of the image as well. The eyes are fantastically sharp and engaging, but there are some other pieces that just compete with the eyes a little bit too much for me to go much higher than that 74 at a Bronze Award. Yeah.
Thank you, Gary. Melissa, right of reply.
Yeah, I think when you go up, that fingernail, that first one that is there is absolutely pin sharp, and to me that's the area that we're being drawn in. That actually frames that frame of the face, the thumb and the finger up and the hiding. For me, what took it above and beyond was the reflection of the jungle and just how engaging those eyes are. Yes, certainly there are issues with the print, and that's, I guess, why I'm not looking at a gold or a gold distinction range, but I just feel that this engages us, it's framed, it's well, it's caught a decisive moment, and it gives us a context and a story about nature and what we find in there. So, yep, good to chat about. I'd encourage people. I'm sitting in a silver range, and yeah.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore. Okay, final score of 77 bronze. Thank you. Next print, please. title of this one is Pukukura Gulls, Otakau. Okay, we have an 82, majority 3. Majority 4. And we're going to accept that. Thank you very much, judges. Can we please have a comment? Judges, please rescore. And Jackie, can I please have a comment from you?
It's a lovely abstraction of flight and birds. I'm not sure about the curved mat. I think it might have just sat on its own quite well without that, but very good.
Thank you. Can we please have a blank screen? And we're going to have a quick judge swapperoonie. Mike, take a break. Bill, please come in for Mike. Now, Kiwis, we are a little bit outnumbered by the Australians, so keep it strong, keep it Kiwi, keep it proud. Next print, please. Title of this image is Tekapo Spiderweb. Okay, we have an average of 62. We're going to accept that. Thank you, judges. Professional standard. And I would like to hear from Bill.
I keep seeing this in two halves. I really think the bottom half is very effective with the backlit filaments of this spiderweb against black, and I even like the flare coming into it, but your eye just kind of blows right out of the top of the picture because of the sun flare and the open sky there. So for me, it's a compositional problem. I think there could have been some variations here that might have worked a bit better.
Thank you, Bill. Nick, judges, please rescore. It's same score. Yeah, so it's just the same score. Thank you very much. Next print, please. Title of this is Australasian Gannet. Okay, we have an 80, majority 3, and we're going to accept that. Thank you, judges. That's a silver award. And can I please, Mel, do you want to add the comment? Fantastic. Okay, please challenge.
Yeah, I think this image, I'm on 85 on a silver distinction, but this image I think has a beautiful softness and the complementary colours, how it reinforces with the bird. So, sort of the yellow neck of the bird and the yellow in the bottom, and it gives it a grounding and this beautiful colour palette and the shape and the movement and the direction and the negative space that the bird's flying into. And I think this is, for me, this is above and beyond. It's a little bit better than a silver, and I'd love to chat about this and see if we can bring it up a little bit higher.
Okay, Ollie.
I was perhaps a little stingy, given all the other judges found a lot to love about it. I gave it a 65 in the middle of professional standard. For me, personally, it's a personal preference, and perhaps I was swayed by that. I find it to be the wrong moment of flight. I find it to be the updraft, the stop of the wings. It feels to me like the bird is stopping because of where its wings are at, and I would have felt that had it been my job to get this shot, I would have chosen a shot that showed me it going forward rather than stopping, and I got stopped by that. So potentially I need to listen to the judges.
Thank you. Gary.
Yeah, I was on 82. I wasn't worried at all by the moment. I actually really enjoyed the moment because it's the point in a wing flap that has the most movement about it, and to hold that as a blur and then combine that with the sharpness of the head and the beak is an interesting combination of the two things together. So that's what I was drawn to, as well as the colour palette that Melissa spoke about. So yeah, I'm on 82.
Thank you. Melissa.
Yeah, I think at this image it shows the strength, you know, almost the spine and the form and the flow. So I quite enjoy that this is the effort of flying. This is, you know, with it at its maximum spread with the curvature of the body. It doesn't look like an object that should fly in this particular moment. It looks heavy, it looks grounded, and then we have this light grounding coming up. So for me, from a pictorial and aesthetics, this is beautiful and stunning, from colour palette, composition, shape, then the actual skill and technique in holding this movement and capturing this decisive moment, I think is very powerful, and I think it's superior, so I think it sits as a silver distinction.
Thank you. Judges, please rescore. Okay, we have a final score of 83 silver. Thank you, judges. Next print, please. Reflective thoughts in nature's reflections. Thank you, judges. We have a average score of 64, professional standard. We'll accept that. Can I please have a comment from Bill?
This is a lovely tapestry. I use the word lovely advisedly. It's a very soothing picture, but it lacks a point of focus. It doesn't give us anywhere for the eye to rest. It's unresolved in that way.
Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this is Hippo Rock. Hippo Rick. Okay, we have an average score of 70 and we're going to accept that. Thank you, judges. Bronze. Can I please hear from Ollie?
Keep getting shocked. I found the vignette took me out of the moment, and I found that it was, I understand the reason for it, but I just found it too heavy.
Thank you, lovely and concise. Next print, please. Spaniard, Acephala colonsai, Hecateri Reserve. Spaniard, Acephala colonsai, Hecateri Reserve. Would you like that a third time? Thank you. Okay, we've got a nice spread there. We have an average of 77 bronze. Okay, so we can have a elective challenge from Gary. Yes.
Yes, I was on 83. I laboured long and hard about this, about what we're actually dealing with to begin with. I still don't know what it is. Obviously, it's botanical something, but the positive-negative story is quite amazing. The negative on the bottom. It's not a complete negative, though. It's not a complete flip. I don't know how the bottom's been treated. I'm not that worried about it, but I just enjoyed these two different pictures, but they're actually exactly the same as well. So I just think it's a very clever way of showing a fairly, simple, mundane subject, but it's been shown to us in quite a unique sort of way. And I saw enough to see a silver award in that space. So, yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah, I'm at the other end of the scale. I really quite enjoy the bottom image. I didn't necessarily find a reason to have the two of the images. I didn't feel that it was stronger because of the two images, even with the positive negative. But I'm certainly listening because I think you guys have found something that I haven't. So I'm listening to the story and would like to hear more to come up.
Okay, Ollie?
Sure, I gave this a 76 bronze, and I'm going to come up to silver because I also laboured over it. I wasn't quite sure, and I wasn't as brave as yourself. The reason I see the positive negative is because it allows us to see more about this than we would if we were given one or the other. If we were given one, we would wonder why. We're given two, and it makes me think, well, actually, I can see differences. Conversely, I think they are just a mirror, a vertical flip down. But I don't mind that now because what it's allowing me to see is more of this object, more of what this is. It allows me to study and learn from this. I can see this in a textbook saying, here's one version, but look at it in the negative and you can see slightly different things and get a different emotion out of it. So I'm going to come to silver.
Okay, Bill.
I'm only a point away from Gary. And my first reaction was the same as yours, Melissa. I thought, why do we need two when one is good? I preferred the top image. You preferred the bottom. But we were both thinking the same way. The longer I looked at this, the more I perceived the bottom image as being the view from under the snow. It isn't quite, because it's got the spikes coming down through it, but it looks to me like the photographer has gone endoscopically, if you like, underneath and looked up from below to give us a different perspective on what we're seeing from above. So I'm rewarding the imagination of the photographer in this particular instance. And I think it's very cleanly printed, very sharp, very well exposed and very well printed.
Okay, look, we've all read a number of different things here. It's interesting to hear Ollie now say to me that it is a complete mirror. I'm not worried about that. I just really love these two crazy alien things going on together, but they work together. I don't think one of the images on their own would have been strong enough. I think the two images on together work very well to mess with us. And, Bill's reference to the endoscope, which is quite uncomfortable, but interesting as well, yeah. Join me on 83.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore. Nice one. We have an 83 silver. Good discussion, judges. Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this one is Virgelabak Hill, Iceland. Okay, so we have a initial score of 76 with Ollie jumping up and down to get started on that discussion.
So I gave this an 86. It's one of these images that from a distance looks delicious and you want to find out more, and you get in there and it's been printed so well that every micron of this image tells me a story of this place. And I just feel like I'm richer for that. The imagination to be able to sit in this place and wait for this precise moment to tell the story that's not only the season, which allows that much greenery or that much snow, but as well as the light, which allows us to see all those different elements. And there's just a touch of a road or something which shows me that it's actually not unbroken territory. So I learn a lot about this place from this one moment, and I think it's quite delicious and worthy of a silver distinction at 86.
Thank you. Bill, I'd like to hear from you, please.
I don't disagree with anything that Ollie says. I scored it a 68, which is a mirror reverse of his score. I feel like this is quite familiar subject matter. I know it's Icelandic exotica, but we've seen a lot of that over the last few years. I don't feel it's that difficult a photograph to take. I thought it was, you know, well executed, appropriate professional level of craft and technique, without having any special attributes or a point of interest in there that really grabbed my eye and made me lock on that and then go around the picture. I just felt it was good professional practice. That's about it.
Okay, I would like to hear from Jackie.
78, and I think I'm pretty going to stay there. I'm finding that left-hand side where the snow meets the border pulling my eye quite a lot, and just making that composition a little bit unbalanced. I'm more enjoying the right-hand crop into a square.
Okay, can we hear from Ollie right of reply?
Well, I'm glad it got a bronze. I would have been very disappointed if this wasn't hanging. And it's great to hear your feedback and the way you see it, because it's cool, because I love it the way that I see it, and we see it differently. And that's where this particular print finishes, and I'm happy it's got a bronze.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore. Judges are also reminded to keep their scores nice and efficient, their comments nice and efficient. Okay, final score at 76, nice solid bronze, thank you. 77, sorry. Thank you. Okay, we're going to have a blank screen and a quick judge change. Ollie. And Mike, you please come in. Just checking. Mel and Jackie, you fantastic. Okay. As soon as we're logged in. Thank you. Next print, please. The title is Crepuscular Rays and Bird Kaikoura. Okay, we have an average of 67. I think we're going to accept that one. Thank you very much. A 67 professional standard. And Gary is really chomping to say something.
Yeah, I think there was a picture in here, but it didn't emerge to us today. There's confusion with what the message is there. Yep. Just not enough clarity of thought there. A lot of elements going on.
Thank you, Gary. Next print, please. No title on this one. Thank you, judges. We have an average of 69, and we're going to accept that one. Thank you very much. 69 professional standard. Can I please hear from Mike?
It's a shame that we can't see the face of the bird at all. If we'd seen that, it would have scored much higher.
Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this one is Tarsier Hand, Borneo Rainforest. Okay, we have an average score of 68. We're going to accept that one. That is 68 professional standard, and I think Gary wants to say something.
Yeah, look, this is an interesting behavioural picture, but the behaviour doesn't quite come across. I'm not sure that that this version in black and white is the answer. But I'd like to see some more pictures in the rest of this, because there's more things going on there. So I would encourage, keep going at this style. Yep.
Thank you, Gary. Next print, please. Just as a reminder, we are in the nature category, sponsored by Epson. The title of this one is Praying Mantis Shows Inquisitive Expression. Okay, we have an average of 68. And we're going to accept that one. Thank you guys very much. 68 professional standard. Can I please have a comment from Jackie?
Right behind the head of the creature, is another light area that's merging, and it's making that area undefined. It's a bit hard to see. Not sure about the matting again on this, and maybe cropped in closer.
Thank you, Jackie. Next print, please. Title of this one is Nesting Antarctic Petrel. Okay, we have an average of 68, and we're going to accept that one. Yep. Challenge, elective challenge from Mike.
I gave the 72. I just felt it, at the separation of the bird from the environment, but also the inclusion of the bird and the environment's working really well. Your eye has got no choice but to look at the bird and see where it's nesting and see how it fits into the whole place. The bay leading around brings your eye back into the bird. The background abstracts. Everything sort of just, it's cozy. And it feels, it's only a very small award. It's just, it's snuck in. And I think it's worthy of saying to this person, you've just snuck in.
Mel, can you add a comment, say something?
Yeah, I'm on 67, and Mike, yeah, I would agree. We're all very close. There were a couple of reasons I scored it in this range. I wanted to either see a little bit more of the bird, or I found the print quality. I understand that it's it's cold and it's, it's got that feeling, but I want a little bit more contrast through the bird, or I wanted to come in closer there. In saying that, I'm on 67 and I'm happy to come up into a bronze.
Thank you. Mike, right of reply?
Yeah, look, I don't think it's a hugely successful image, but I think it's doing better than professional standard. And I think that's where I'm leaving it.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore. Nice talking. We've taken that up to a 71 bronze. Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this one is New Zealand Dab Chick with Young. Okay, we have an average score of 78 with an elective challenge from Mr. Langford.
I gave it 84. I feel this is quite superior in its capture, mostly. The fact that we have this bird doing its normal thing, and then you find the unusual, the thing that you don't expect to see, the baby on the back, and the separation from the background is exquisite. Again, we've got the bird coming into frame. There's more space on the right than the left, so the cropping's perfect. Background's beautifully out of focus without too much boat going on. There's nothing distracting. I think it's a very successful image at a low silver.
Thank you. Jackie, I'd like to hear from you.
I was at 75. I just found that composition a little bit awkward. The bird seems to be pointing downwards, not down to the horizon, and a little bit too muuld space at the top. Could have loved a little bit more symmetry and would have probably gone into that silver range, but there you go.
Okay, Gary wants to say something.
Yeah, I was on 78. I thought it was a high standard of professional practice. I'm not sure about the tones, Mike. I think I wanted to see something a little bit more syrupy and a little bit more rich there. I think the richness may be not quite across. I probably would have scored a little bit higher with a bit more kind of richness in terms of the palette. So, yeah, that's all. 78, though.
Mike?
Okay, just to reply, going up and actually looking at the baby and looking at the colour on the baby, if you oversaturated that anymore, it would start to look fake. And we are talking about a category that really prides itself on purity. And I think that the purity of the palette is real. It feels real, and I'm reading it real. So assess it according to your own aesthetics and mark it accordingly.
Okay, thank you, judges. Please rescore. And I think we need to find Gary some dessert as he's after rich syrupiness. Thank you, judges. Final score is 79. Why do you do this to me? So So judges are asked to please either select a 79 or 80 with no discussion. So score stays as 79 bronze. Thank you, judges. And next print, please. Title of this one is Hoar Frost. Okay, fantastic. So we have an average of 69. And yeah, okay, Gary, go for it.
Yeah, I scored this 74 into the bronze range. The middle of the picture is really interesting. It is really interesting. It's beautiful in terms of the detail in there. I'm seeing enough to see a bronze award in that area of the picture. And I fully understand that someone next to me is probably going to talk about cropping and space on one side or space on the other. I probably would have gone a little bit higher. I just really enjoyed that central detail surrounded by these little flakes, little extra bits around, but we're still drawn to that that hexagon within a hexagon within a hexagon in the middle. I saw enough to see a bronze award there. I'm not asking for a huge amount. I'm just asking for a bronze. We are on 69. I scored at 74. Let's hear some other judges.
Mike.
I gave this 64 professional standard, a low professional standard. Obviously in Queensland you don't have many hoarfrosts to actually become familiar with what works and what doesn't. The depth of focus isn't big enough to actually separate that particular crystal out from the background. There are mergers happening on all sorts of corners. It's just not, the clarity isn't there, and it needs to be there. When you've got backgrounds and foregrounds merging, the subject starts to disappear. And I find that a bit of a challenge.
Bill.
I think I'm going to reiterate a comment that's been made several times before. I think there's an interesting picture in here, but this isn't it. I don't think the photographers worked quite hard enough to make a composition that really fascinates us sufficiently to consider it to be award-worthy.
Mel,
I'm going to
nice
be
and
really quick because I'm in the bronze range as well, so I feel I should speak in support. Agreed, if it was me, I would crop the right-hand side, but I really do enjoy that graphic nature, the abstraction that it provides us and how this turns into a surreal form of abstract art. So I rewarded it in a bronze for those reasons.
Mike. Oh, no, sorry, Gary, yeah.
Okay, in closing, I don't have all of you with me. I have some of you with me. I see enough in the middle of this picture to award this as a bronze image. So let's rescore.
Judges, please rescore. Okay, we have an average of 69, professional standard. Thank you, good discussion. Can we please have a blank screen? And Gary, I think you're going to go and have a sit down and we'll bring Ollie back in. We love you all. Okay, how are we going there, Ollie? Good sign in. It's a quick sign in. Fantastic. Next print, please. Title of this one is Over and Under Scenic Silence. Slice. Okay, we have an average of 70. Ollie, thank you.
Okay, so welcome back, Ollie. I gave this an 82. The reason I gave this an 82 is because of the repeating theme of layers. There's layers of cloud, there's layers of land. This is kind of a view of, okay, maybe it's been shot out a window of a plane. I don't care. This is a reflection of nature. This is a reflection of so many things. We can see from the peaks of the mountains covered in snow all the way down to the shores of the ocean breaking with all those different layers and types of clouds in the middle with a little touch of blue at the top. And to me, that speaks of a lot more imagination than just plain old professional standards. So it gets a 70, it's going to hang, that's exciting. I did give it an 82, and therefore I should talk because I'm 12 points above that.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Bill.
When I first looked at this, I didn't find much to see in the top 2/3 of it. I've been listening to Ollie as he's been speaking. I've been looking at it again while he's been speaking. And I do see those layers. It's kind of a familiar sight, but I just feel that it lacks a bit of oomph to get it over the line. I've judged it as good professional practice, and that's kind of where I'm going to stay, I think.
Mike?
Just briefly, I feel as if the image isn't about any one element. It's confused in terms of what the subject of the photograph is. The subjects can't be the mountains because the mountains are the smaller part of the image. Can't really be the clouds because there's no form or shape in there. And it can't be the blue sky because there's nothing happening up there. So I'm visually confused.
Ollie, can you please wrap it up?
I can. There are 3 types of water here, the frozen, the liquid, and the gaseous. There are 3 types of land, the sticking out bits, the bits that are lipped by water, and the bits under the water. This is nature. It's in the nature category. It's a powerful piece of communication for me. And because I was on this panel, it got a bronze. I'm happy with that, but I think it's deserving of more than just scraping in at 70. A mid-range bronze would keep me happy.
Thank you. Judges, please rescore. Thank you. And we have an average of 71. Bronze. Thank you. Well done. Judges are also reminded, even the late hour, a broad variety of vocabulary is encouraged. Sticky out bits. Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this one is Dusky Dolphin, excuse my lack of Latin, Lendothylagonorus obscurus, Tasman Sea. Okay, we have a nice consistent scoring there, 66 average. Can I please hear from Jackie?
Yeah, there's 2 dolphins together is obviously harder than one, but they have to work together to make a stronger image, and I'm finding that it's not. And there's some birds on the edge of frame that take my eye away, and the sky's a bit muddy, a little bit over sharpened in the background, where you can see the sky meet the ocean. Yeah.
Thank you. Next print, please. Title of this one is Tree Ferns and Arapanui. Okay. This is the nature category, sponsored by Epson, and the judges are bringing me their scores. We have an average of 71 bronze. And we're going to accept that one. Thank you. Can I please have a comment from Melissa?
I think there's lovely detail through these ferns, and one area I'd certainly look at is maybe pull back your vignette. I don't think it needs that level of vignetting on the corners, and it's quite distracting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We're going to accept that one. And next print, please. Title of this one is Wandering Sea Anemone, Kaikoura. Okay, we have an average score of 68. We're going to accept that. Thank you, professional standard. Can we please hear from Ollie?
To me, the bronze is the centre part of this image. It's beautifully captured and really well rendered, but there was just too much around it for me to feel like the photographer had been totally in control of a bronze award.
Thank you. Lovely and succinct. Next print, please. Title of this one is Heron in Flight, Lake Chamo, Ethiopia. Okay, we have an average of 74. Jackie.
Yeah, I'm on 83. I found a gracefulness in this bird, a sense of place, beautiful sharpness, very well rendered. Although the sense of landscape in the background, I thought the print quality was really good as well. So there you go. Tell me why not.
Bill, can I please hear from you?
I love the angelic quality of the wings, but I think I was insufficiently moved by the image overall. The lighting is not particularly interesting, and I don't normally comment on these things, but the vignette is a bit heavy. I just feel that it's a good example of good professional practice, but it's not really an award-winning image as far as I'm concerned.
Ollie.
I felt like it was an opportunity lost in the sense of perhaps a different way of presenting it to us on a more imaginative paper might have taken me to a place of really feeling that emotion. I think other than that, it was well captured and presented, and I gave it a 71. It ended up with a 74, so I'm quite happy where it is.
Jackie, can you please write a reply?
Cool. Okay. I got all that. Yeah, and let's celebrate it, and maybe that author will go away with that knowledge and reprint it and make it ping on there. So yeah, I'm still on 83.
Okay, judges, please rescore. Okay, we have an average of 74 bronze. Thank you. And that was the last print for this evening. Well done to all the judges throughout the day and panel chairs, lovely people behind the scenes who have kept everything going. And I think if the judges can please stay around and everyone else can clear the room.